Christ is risen. Welcome to Spiritual Calisthenics. Today, on May 30th, we commemorate the memory of St. Isaacius, founder of the Monastery of Dalmatus, also known as St. Isaac the Confessor. The righteous Isaacius was from Syria and came to Constantinople in 374, excelled in the monastic life, and departed to the Lord in 396. According to tradition, his monastery was built by Dalmatus the patrician, a nephew of St. Constantine the Great. But many say that the monastery was founded by St. Isaacius, and afterwards took the name of the Abbot Dalmatus, who succeeded St. Isaacius. See August 3rd for an account of the life of St. Isaacius and Dalmatus. Yet others maintain that it received its name from both of these, and that is why its name in Greek is in the plural. According to Zonaras, the iconoclast Emperor Constantine Copronymus later turned this monastery into a barracks. And as for the monastery called Dalmatus, which is ancient and the oldest of all those in Constantinople, after he had expelled the monks, the emperor made it a barracks for soldiers. The Third Ecumenical Council raised its abbot to the rank of archimandrite and exarch of the prominent monasteries of the imperial city. The famous cathedral of St. Isaac in St. Petersburg is dedicated to this saint. The image of God was faithfully preserved in you, O Father, for you took up the cross and followed Christ. By your actions you taught us to look beyond the flesh, for it passes, rather to be concerned about the soul, which is immortal. Wherefore, O holy Isaacius, your soul rejoices with the angels. Continuing with Acts of the Apostles. In those days when the apostles had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessaloniki, where there was a synagogue of the Jews. And Paul went in as was his custom, and for 3 weeks he argued with them from the Scriptures, explaining and proving that it was necessary for the Christ to suffer and to rise from the dead, and saying, "This Jesus whom I proclaim to you is the Christ." And some of them were persuaded, and joined Paul and Silas, as did many of the devout Greeks, and not a few of the leading women. But the Jews were jealous, and taking some wicked fellows of the rabble, they gathered a crowd, set the city in an uproar, and attacked the house of Jason, seeking to bring them out to the people. And when they could not find them, they dragged Jason and some of the brethren before the city authorities, crying, "These men have turned the world upside down, and have come here also, and Jason has received them." So Jason received the apostles into his house. And they are all acting against the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, Jesus. And the people and the city authorities were disturbed when they heard this. When they had taken security from Jason and the rest, they let them go. So in other words, Jason had to pay a hefty fine, and then they were released. So this is the Jewish people of Thessaloniki trying to cause problems for the early Christian church out of jealousy. Not out of faith, but jealousy that people are following after St. Paul. Again, continuing with the Gospel of John. At that time, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered counsel and said, "What are we to do? For this man performs many signs. If we let him go on thus, everyone will believe in him. And the Romans will come and destroy both our place and our nation." So in other words, they're worried that people are going to declare Jesus Christ king. And if that happens, the Roman authorities are going to take notice and they will crush everyone. But one of them, Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing at all. You do not understand that it is expedient for you that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation should not perish." He did not say this on his own accord, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus should die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but to gather into one the children of God, who are scattered abroad. So from that day on they took counsel on how to put him to death. Jesus therefore no longer went about openly among the Jews, but went from there to the country near the wilderness, to a town called Ephraim, and there he stayed with the disciples. So this prophecy that Caiaphas received, that Jesus Christ would bring all people to God through his death, he doesn't seem to understand that it doesn't mean that God was telling him, you need to try to execute Jesus, but rather that Jesus is going to die for all people. And so unwittingly, he actually accomplishes things in a way that he didn't understand, because Jesus Christ came to suffer for our sake. I hope that you've enjoyed today's Spiritual Calisthenics. Have a blessed and wonderful day.